What's up, you filthy fight fans? Hopefully everything went great for you guys this weekend. You guys were able to catch the fight, which was Poirier versus McGregor 2. But if you weren't, I'm here with that recap. But before we get to that recap, got to get rid of some laundry real quick. And I have to start off with this and saying, hey guys, if this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button. Also, if you guys can smash that like button, because I'm trying to beat that YouTube algorithm so we can get the filthy report out there. Please help me out with that. And like always, let's get to this recap. All right, guys. Now, before we jump into the main event, I have to talk about a couple of names that were on this card that really did some work and really brought it to this card and took every advantage of the eyes that were going to be on this card. Now, first off, shout out to Juliana Pena. Happy that she's got back into the win column, showing that she's still a dominant grappler and showing that she still has that hunger to go for that title shot. Now, she got a really good rear naked choke against Sarah McMahon. I'm happy for her, and I'm happy with the call out that she did, telling Amanda Nunes that it's her time and she needs to be challenging for that title. Now, with that being said, the other one I got to talk about is Brad Tavares. Brad Tavares brought in and showed how much of a dominance figure he still is in the middleweight division and showed that he can be up there with any of the top 10. So I'm hoping that he gets back into the top 10 this year and he'll be able to challenge for that title contention. So shouts out to Brad Tavares and shouts out to his striking and also his unbelievable takedown defense. Now, with all that, let's get to this main card. And I have to talk about, of course, Jojo Calderwood. Now, Jojo had a hiccup last time with basically Valentina Shevchenko. She was supposed to be fighting for the title shot against Valentina Shevchenko in her last fight. Valentina got injured, had to sit out for a bit, and she took on another fight and ended up losing in her fight, and now is trying to get back to that title contention. She showed off that she has pure dominance and her striking is always improving, showing that she can handle anybody up there in the top 10. I'm hoping that they give her one more fight, and if she can win that fight, that she'll be off to the races and ready to take on Valentina Shevchenko. I think that she has a really good, decent chance against Valentina Shevchenko, but also we are talking about Valentina Shevchenko, and she's a pure dominance champion, pure fighter that always seems to get her either a win by a knockout or a submission. With that being said, guys, now let's get to these main event fights, which were the co-main event, which was Chandler versus Hooker, and then the main event, which was Poirier versus McGregor. Now, first starting off with Chandler versus Hooker, not that much to be said here, but there is a couple of things that I have questions about that they kind of got answered, but there's a few other questions that I need to ask you guys about this one. Now, with Chandler and Hooker, it just seemed like Chandler was a man on a mission, did not want to stop, did not want to hesitate, did not even have any other choice but to come forward and put the pace on Hooker. And now with Hooker, he seemed very hesitant. It seemed like he wasn't completely there, wasn't really wanting to throw any strikes, wasn't using a lot of his feints, and wasn't trying to throw his kicks really. It is kind of hard to read because it was a first round finish, but Chandler started working onto that body and started setting up his shots by continuously going for the body and was able to set up that shot with the left hook for the left hook to the head and drop him with a straight right. Now, Chandler looks like a beast. I don't know where they're going to go with Chandler. If they're going to give him a title shot. It seems like Dana White's looking at it that way. But, you know, he never really makes a fight on the night of a fight. So we'll see. We'll have to see how it goes right there. I do think Chandler looked great. There are a lot of good matchups for him. I wouldn't mind seeing him against Justin Gaethje, Tony Ferguson, even Charles Oliveira. I wouldn't mind seeing him against them. And with that, let's talk about Hooker. Now, here's where the questions come in. Like I said before, Hooker did look like he was very hesitant, wasn't really using his feints and wasn't trying to move in, wasn't really trying to engage with Chandler. It seemed like he was kind of caught off guard by Chandler starting off really fast, which is weird because Chandler normally starts off fast. He comes like a bat out of hell, charging at you, trying to throw some strikes, but you always have to worry for his takedowns. Now, my question here is this. Ever since that Dustin Poirier fight, it seems like Hooker hasn't been the same. He took a lot of damage in that fight. A lot of heavy shots. As you guys see, Dustin Poirier always has really heavy hands. Really phenomenal boxer. Crisp with it, always catches you at the end of his shots, and is always looking to try to put you out. And to go 5 hard rounds with him, it could be devastating. So I'm just wondering, do you guys think that Hooker didn't have enough time off, or do you think he jumped at the chance to fight Chandler a little bit too fast? Or what do you guys think? What are you guys perceiving? Because what I'm perceiving is that I think Hooker needs a little bit of time off. Really needs to basically gut check to see where he wants to be. Because it seemed very odd that he took off his gloves and threw him down in the cage. It could have been from pure frustration, or it could be that he's calling it. That's it. I mean, how would you guys feel? You flew all the way out there to take on a up and comer that was coming from another organization to try to get your chance to get at a title shot. You get shut out in the first round, and on top of that, you can't even go home to your family, to your daughter for basically a month and a half because of the restrictions that New Zealand has for the pandemic that's going on. Sucks for him. So he'll be sitting out in Abu Dhabi. Hopefully, he does some really deep thinking about how his career is going and where he wants to go with that. But don't count him out. He's still a vicious fighter. He still has really good technique. I just think he needs to find the clarity of where he wants to be in this division. Or even if he's not sitting at the right division, because I do know he walks around, think about 190. So we'll see with that. And with that, guys, we have to get into this main event. Now, I know in the breakdown I kept saying like, hey, I'm going with Conor and everything, but I also told you guys continuously, you can never count out Dustin Poirier. Now, this main event went spectacular the way that it went down. Right off the bat, Conor came out showing off his striking, showing that he wasn't scared, he wasn't going to take a step back. But also, he did answer a few questions. He did look pretty decent at 155. The cardio seemed like it was holding up. He was throwing a lot of good shots. He was catching Dustin a lot. But Dustin was also being able to fire back and counter react on him and just counter strike him out with every single time. Now, the biggest thing that was devastating, and I have to give props to Dan Hardy. If you guys aren't following his channel, you guys should follow his channel too. That's the Full Reptile. Dan Hardy, he came out and said the exact game plan that Dustin Poirier was going to need to get against Conor McGregor. Now, with that, I wasn't expecting Dustin to come out as much with the heavy leg kicks, not realizing that they're both southpaws. I should have been looking at that because that leg is out there in the front. And of course, we all know Conor's been concentrating a lot on boxing right now. He's all about his boxing and trying to move around and use his hands only. But Conor does have really good kicks, and he has really phenomenal footwork. But because of just concentrating on boxing so much, he was really heavy on that front leg, and he stays, of course, he always had that wide stance. And Dustin was just able to chop at that leg, and it only took a couple of leg kicks to basically just make that dead weight on Conor's body. He was not able to throw the shot. He was not able to take the shot. And it was really weird that he didn't check any of the kicks. He wasn't using his kicks the way he normally does, or using his footwork to make the guy basically shift to the side that he needs him to be able to throw that left hand. And as we all saw in the second round, Dustin just pushed the pace, threw 2 more leg kicks, knew that Conor couldn't put any pressure on that leg kick anymore, and was able to just get him turned against the fence and throw some bombs and catch him directly on the chin and basically get it with a TKO win. Now, I know I'm not bringing any excuses here or saying anything. Yes, it was a TKO win. It was a technical knockout. Conor couldn't continue on. It wasn't a real knockout, but we are going to count it as a knockout for Dustin Poirier. Here's the thing. The one thing I did like about this whole fight, it showed where Conor's at, what's the motivation that he has, and what's going through his mind. Now, even in the ring, he was completely respectable to Dustin Poirier, which I really like about him. About that, it's showing that Conor's maturing and he's growing and he's developing to being an actual man that understands that you got to stand on your own 2 feet to bring it. And Dustin showed that he doesn't have to hold a grudge or anything like that. So it was a good night of fights of just people showing respect. Now, with all that being said, the next couple of questions are going to be, what do we do with Conor McGregor? Who does he get next? Dustin's already said he's down with the trilogy fight. Nate Diaz is basically always right there for a trilogy fight. I mean, there's a couple of fights that Conor, and just like Conor always says, and just like everybody says in MMA, different styles of fights make really good fights. There's a couple of fights that I would like to see him matched up in. I wouldn't mind seeing the Dustin Poirier 3. I wouldn't mind seeing the Nate Diaz 3. I wouldn't even mind seeing him fight Jorge Masvidal. The Charles Oliveira. I wouldn't mind seeing Conor go up against Tony Ferguson. There's a few names in that division that I think would really give Conor a really good fight and really test him to see if he's able to get back to that title contention. And all right, guys, that's pretty much all I got for you guys for these fights this weekend. But I do have a little bit of fight news to go over, so let's get to that. And with that, the fight news I got for you guys, of course, with Dustin Poirier basically TKOing and shutting out Conor McGregor in that fight, it was off to the races. All the pros were reacting. Everybody was reacting. And of course, first one to jump on the train of Dustin Poirier was Nate Diaz and saying that he's training and getting ready to fight his ass. And if you guys don't remember, about, I want to say 2 years ago, Dustin Poirier and Nate Diaz were booked to fight. Nate Diaz ended up pulling out. Can't really remember if it was because of an injury or just they couldn't meet on numbers. But Nate ended up pulling out. But as always, Nate's just sort of like how Conor is. He likes to walk into huge fights, which I do feel like it gives him an opportunity that he would be able to walk into this fight, especially in the 155 division. He's still a stablemate. Now, my only problem is that Dustin Poirier is actually entertaining Nate Diaz, and I do feel like sometimes Dustin does fight off of emotion and fight off of rage, and he's always wanted to get that one back and trying to get that fight again to go down because he really wanted to fight Nate Diaz. I understand where the test comes in with Nate Diaz is Dustin wants to test his boxing versus Nate Diaz boxing. We all know the Diaz brothers are phenomenal boxers, but I feel that if Nate Diaz wants to step in there with Dustin Poirier, he first needs to go through Conor McGregor for their rematch, because if you guys don't remember, Nate Diaz is coming off of a loss, and the UFC has never liked booking a loss versus a winner. So we'll see how it goes there. Also, the other stuff I have to talk about is, of course, the stuff that went down in the post-press conference, which was Conor showing he's gonna take it just as humble as he walked in with it, and showing that, yeah, he did make mistakes. He didn't adjust. The leg kicks were devastating. His leg was dead on his feet. Just like he said, he's not trying to make any excuses. Dustin was the man that night. Dustin brought it to him, and he did like the competition that he had with Dustin Poirier. He does like that there could be a trilogy fight, and it does seem like Conor's really actually gonna just regroup and come back. He understands that just how it is in MMA. If you guys are casual fans and you guys don't seem to understand, in MMA, it's not just like boxing where your losses really just bombard you and hold you down and make you where you're never able to get back to that title shot. Now, if Conor does a string of losses, which I'm thinking if he gets 2 more losses, the UFC is pretty much going to be like, well, it's either you drop all the way back to the bottom or that we're pretty much done, because he has enough money in the bank. He has other options. And just like I said, I did like a lot of the call-outs that went down on UFC 257. I did like that Julian Pena doubled down and calling out Amanda Nunes at the post-press conference, and Michael Chandler doubled down on his call-outs, calling out Dustin Poirier, calling out Conor McGregor, and also Justin Gaethje and Charles Oliveira. Now, Dustin Poirier already answered back about the Michael Chandler, saying that he's not interested in that fight. There's only 2 fights that he's interested in, and that's going to be the Nate Diaz and the Conor McGregor rematch. Now, with that being said, I think Dustin needs to focus a little bit more on that. He needs to get that championship belt. So what I'm saying with this is, if Khabib's out the picture, what do you guys think should be? What should be the next match that should be booked for Dustin Poirier? Should it be Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler? Or should we go back to the well and do Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor? Now, I know that the UFC doesn't like giving people title shots off of losses, but we are talking about Conor McGregor here. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We all know how the UFC is with Conor McGregor. Now, with that being said, I know you guys are probably like, well, what about Charles Oliveira? What about Justin Gaethje? What about Tony Ferguson? Calm your horses. Don't get your panties in a bunch. I'm also saying this. There's a lot of other good fighters in that top 10 division. We still have Al Quinta. We still have Rafael Dos Anjos. We still have Paul Felder. There's a lot of people that are in those matchups that could actually match up. I wouldn't mind seeing Conor McGregor against Paul Felder. I wouldn't mind seeing Conor McGregor against Justin Gaethje or Tony Ferguson. Or we can go the other route too. You can give Conor McGregor to Rafael Dos Anjos. There's tons of different people in the lightweight division that we can mix and match to make it a little bit more like a, not to steal from Bellator, but a little bit of like a Grand Prix where climbing through the division. But we first need to figure out what's going on with Khabib. And you guys already heard from Dana also in the post press conference that Dana said that Khabib already kind of looked at the situation and was like, I already gave you the breakdown for Dustin Poirier to how he should go about to win and beat Conor McGregor. But also with that fight going down like that, you guys understand I'm leagues above these guys in the lightweight division. Let's just be real with it, and let's just be real with yourself, Dana. It doesn't look like Khabib's coming back. So we need to concentrate, and I hope Dana goes in on Tuesday at the corporate office and starts deciding on who is going to be booked for that title fight, for that lightweight title, for the undisputed title. And that's all I got for you guys this week, man. I know it's kind of short, and the reason being is because we do have a fight card coming up, but it's not coming up till February 6th. And to be honest with you guys, the card's not even completely built yet. You guys should go check it out on the UFC. It's on February 6th, and all we know is it's going to be Alistair Overeem versus Alexander Volkov. Now, I can't wait for that match. I know it's going to be a really good match. I'll be diving in and seeing who else they're going to be putting on that card. But I also think they're going to start putting a lot of lightweights on cards to start moving through the rankings, to start building the division, to get it back on a normal path so we can get that champion put in place, and then we can just move on. So trust me, keep your eyes glued to the screen. 2021 starting off great. It is looking like it's going to be a great fight. Can't wait. And until next time, guys, I am Jason Filthy Jones, bringing you the dirtiest information with the cleanest style. Peace.